Hello again, everybody, and welcome into our video series here on BaltimoreBaseball.com. I'm Steve Cockey, and of course, it is Winter Meetings Week 2017, meaning that executives from all 30 teams, including Dan Duquette and Buck Showalter, have gathered at the Swan and Dolphin Resort in sunny Orlando, Florida, to talk trades and negotiate with free agents. Of course, it's not just the front offices that are there. The media is there. The writers are all there. And our senior writer, Dan Connolly, is there. He joins us now to talk about the latest surrounding the Orioles. Dan, how are you?
Physically, I'm there.
How many caffeinated
Mentally,
beverages
not
are
so
you up
sure.
to?
Yeah, not as many as I would like.
That certainly makes sense. Cool. So, Dan, of course, we're going to talk about Manny Machado. We have to pretty much start and end there with this video. I want to start things off with how serious do you think the Orioles are about this? Do you sense that it's a go through the motions, doing diligence sort of thing to see if anybody absolutely blows them away? Or do you think there is legitimate intent from Peter Angelos on down to cultivate these offers, select and negotiate the best one, and actually pull the trigger, I should say, on a Manny Machado deal?
I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger, but I do know they're serious in exploring this and trying to figure out what their best package may be. Manny Machado is a great player. We all know it. We also all are pretty much sure that he is going to be somewhere else after 2018. And the Orioles need pitching. It's obvious. And this is one way for them to get that. So will it happen? I don't know. But I would say I think it's more likely to happen not now. And that's a huge departure from, just 2 days ago when I would have told you that it was much more likely that the Orioles were going to hold on to Manny Machado. But I think that, that there's been a sea change. And I think that there is a thought that, yeah, they're going to at least try it. And whether it goes all the way through, I don't know. It's a complicated organization. So we'll see what happens when they have to pull the trigger. But at this point, I think they are very serious, Steve.
With only 1 year of control, Dan, left for Manny, we have to assume that any interested teams are in kind of a win now mode. Maybe need a shortstop or a third baseman, of course, as well. And you've got the Yankees and the Red Sox in the American League East that fit both of those molds. If you're the Orioles, do you avoid those two teams like the plague, saying this is our divisional competition, we got to play them 18, 19 times a year in 2018? Or do you say, hey, if they offer the best package, the Orioles absolutely need to go in that direction and trade him within the division?
I think you have to trade him within the division if they give you the best package. I understand there's emotion tied to it, and there's a reality tied to it of facing it 19 times and making your divisional rivals better. But the bottom line is the Orioles will be trading Manny Machado to get better for the future. And they have to go after the best package to do that. And if that comes from the Yankees, if that comes from the Red Sox, well, then so be it. Will it be difficult? Sure. But we asked Dan Duquette this very question a few hours ago. And what Dan Duquette said to me was, we can control this now, but we can't in 2019. His point being, you don't want him to go to the Yankees or the Red Sox. Well, he might end up with the Yankees or the Red Sox anyway in 2019 for a decade. So are you going to say, okay, well, we're going to stop him from doing it this year, not get the best players? I think that if it's all equal, then yeah, sure, you trade him somewhere else. But if the needs that you have, which are starting pitching, as you said, a third baseman now, or a shortstop, an infielder, and probably an outfielder, maybe a left-handed hitter. If you can get all that stuff and they're major league ready, and you can get it from the Yankees instead of another team, go ahead and do it.
We've heard, Dan, from Duquette and from various reports that the Orioles' preference in a potential Machado deal is to land hopefully multiple controllable major league ready starting pitchers. Again, there's only 1 year of control left for Manny Machado. So in your mind, how realistic is it that the Orioles can land that kind of a package for him?
It's pretty realistic, in my opinion, because he's Manny Machado. People get stuck on the 1 year thing, and I understand it's a rental, but it's a full year. And again, we're not talking about teams who don't think that they have a chance. These are teams that are already really good and also have a farm system and can take that next step. And Manny Machado is a difference maker. Simply put, he is a difference maker. And so I think they can get pretty much what they're looking for. They don't have to trade him. They can hold on to him. There's nothing that says they have to trade him. So I think that they have to look for the best package. And frankly, like I said, the Yankees might have the best package. They have a couple guys who are major league ready or close to the majors anyway, as far as pitchers are concerned. Chance Adams, a right-hander, is one of them. Justice Sheffield is a left-hander. He's probably a little bit further away, but he could make the Yankees in 2018 as well. Adams could start the season with the Yankees. Everyone talks about, that he's a real legitimate infielder. I think he just turned 21 today. They have guys they could give the Orioles. So I think that maybe you don't get all of them, but I think that a team that is trying to win and wants to be in a competition will give the Orioles what they're looking for.
One of the fascinating things about all of this to me, Dan, is over the last 48 hours, what happened? Where did all of this come from when previously we had heard that ownership, the organization really had no interest in trading Manny, that their intent was to make one final run with him and the others in 2018. In your mind, what changed here recently that has altered their thinking?
Steve, as early as or as late, I should say, as Monday night, I talked to an Orioles official who said it was probably less than 0% that Manny Machado would be traded before opening day. And then, bam, everything changed. What do I think changed? And this is just speculation on my part, but the Orioles felt like they could compete, but they needed to improve their starting pitching. And they felt like there were some free agents that were out there that were within their budget that they could get. They had some interest, very much interest, in guys like Mike Fears or Chatwood. There's a couple of different guys that they really had interest in. All those guys went off the board, and they're not going to play, in the stratosphere of an Arrieta, a Darvish, or even a Cobb, Lance Lynn. So they really were kind of specific on the guys that they were going to try to target. And almost all those guys are going. Andrew Kashner is probably the only one who was kind of still, maybe in that tier that hasn't been signed yet. So I think that they had to think, well, how are we going to get this pitching now? And they decided to listen a little bit for the Machado stuff, and I'm sure, were kind of blown away by what teams would give them for Machado, simply being that they could fill some of these holes. So my guess is, going to try and compete in 2018. They realized that they weren't going to be able to do that pitching wise unless they make a major trade. And so that's kind of where they are. Now, again, I'm not saying they are going to trade Machado. I'm saying it's a heck of a lot more likely now than it was really in the last 6 months.
Interesting stuff, Dan. Final thing for you. If this were to go through, if the Orioles were to go ahead and trade Manny Machado, what's next for them in your mind? Do you think they look further into the future and then go with Brock and Britton trades as well? Of course, both of those guys free agents after 2018 also. Or do they pivot back toward the present and take that $17 million that would have been owed to Manny through arbitration and put it back into the current team, add another bat, something of that nature? What do you think happens as the next domino if this first domino of Manny leaving Baltimore were to fall?
I think if you send Manny Machado away, it makes very little sense then not to do the same with Zach Britton and Brad Brock or Brad Brock. If you're going to go that, you might as well keep going. You might as well get rid of 2 or 3 guys and just get better. And you can use that money, not necessarily for extra bats or extra players, but use that money to maybe give an extension to guys, maybe a Jonathan Scope, maybe a Adam Jones, or whatever it might be. But I think that if you're going to go and take that huge step, Manny, you might as well do that step with Britton and Brock. Now, if you think that Britton, who spoke to us on BaltimoreBaseball.com on Wednesday, if you think that Britton his value isn't where it needs to be because of health, then maybe you do hang on to him for a couple months, see where you are, and then you trade him in July or whatever. But I don't think I think if this huge domino falls, I think there probably should be some other things that go with it.
Huge rumors swirling around the Orioles as the final day of the winter meetings 2017 are about to transpire. For Dan Connolly, I'm Steve Cockey. Until next time, so long.